A pleasant good morning to everyone and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu looks like this. He's the head women's basketball coach at Southern University, Coach Carlos Fuentes. With a first name of Carlos, he's all right in my book. All right in my book, but he'll join me at about 10:15. So we'll talk with him real quickly. Following Coach Carlos Fuentes, Rod Walker will join me, and we're going to be talking some NFL. We'll be talking some NBA, and I may just ask him about some other items in the sports world. And then last but not least, Coach Van Pettaway joins me, as usual, as always, talking Southwest Athletic Conference sports. Of course, basketball season now in the conference and college basketball. They are getting ready for a season. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show, and it starts off on a somber note. Hall of Famer second baseman Joe Morgan dies at the age of 77. Played with the Cincinnati Reds, and after his outstanding career, guess what? He was a tremendous broadcaster and did very well. Well, he passes away at age 77. Thoughts and prayers to the Morgan family. And then lost another Hall of Famer, different sport. Fred Dean passed away at the age of 68, played with the Chargers. But I mostly remember him from the 49ers. He was the prototype. Before there was a prototype defensive end, this guy was just, what words could you describe him as? He harassed, he was athletic, he was a warrior, and he would get after the opposing quarterback. But according to reports, passed away from complications from COVID-19. Then last but not least, the big news. I know some of you have been wondering what kind of contract will Coach Sanders have at Jackson State University. How about $300,000 a year plus a 4-year deal at $1.2 million and at least $120,000 in annual performance incentives and automatic extension for an 8-win season. What a great opportunity. What a great contract for Coach Sanders. I'm sure you're going to want to weigh in on that, and you can reach me in a couple of ways here. Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com, email address. You can reach me on Facebook Messenger, The Carlos Brown Show. A lot of you like to interact with me via that route. Also, it can be on Twitter, franchise_show, and on Instagram, The Carlos Brown Show. Very interesting show today. So we're going to kind of start off with some collegiate basketball as far as the guests. Then we'll go some NFL, some NBA. And by the way, let me say this. I am a man of principle most of the time. I'm perfectly imperfect. But congratulations to the Los Angeles Lakers on defeating the Miami Heat and 2020 NBA champions. And I'm not going to get into the debate, and it's just amazing that you continuously have these debates about who should be on Mount Rushmore of sports, who's better than Michael, One thing I will give LeBron is, as far as his performance on the court, but as important is what he is doing and what he has done off the court. And you get my drift. He's done a lot of outstanding things, and I give him kudos for being a complete player on the court and off the court. So the guest menu, Coach Carlos Funches, Rod Walker, and Coach Van Pettaway. Let me say good morning to Dr. Brother Michael Prince. Dr. Prince, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my friend. How are you on this lovely Saturday, crisp fall?
I'm doing well, and I'm sure you're doing well as well. And this weather is just beautiful in the city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Temperature right now about 52-ish degrees. Well, how about we get an official? How about that?
I got officially 62 in Prairie View.
Okay, well, see, I was thinking about a couple of hours ago. It is 5 minutes after 10. 63 and sunny, just beautiful. Mm-hmm. Low humidity, beautiful sunshine. You couldn't ask for a better morning.
Sound like Mr. Rogers' Day, doesn't it? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Well, I watched that a little bit as a little franchise a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But interesting situation. Coach Sanders' contract. It is full of all of some good perks. Monitoring social media. It is what it is. You have the pros, you have the cons, if I could put it that way. But the main thing is Jackson State, they're happy with what they have and what they've offered. Your thoughts on Coach Sanders' contract?
I honestly don't have any thoughts. As my father used to say, a terminology, if you like it, I love it. It's a bit risque, but we know that's part of when you go with a name recognition like that. And I think the key factor is there's been no games coached on the plus nor the minus side of things. And you just, there's no saying too that you get what you pay for. So if you pay premium, expect premium results. That's all I can say.
Well, thank you for that comment. Short and to the point. Where did I stop off in my opening?
You were stopping off at how great LeBron was.
Well, yeah, he's truly a champion, and again, on and off the court.
And you said he's going to be on your Mount Rushmore or something like that too.
No, that I don't do, but I'll leave that to the experts.
You could have the franchise Mount Rushmore.
No, because when you start comparing different eras,
but that's what makes
who was the teams. That's good if that's what you want to do.
So go ahead and share with us, man. Give us the franchise Mount Rushmore. Give us your four.
No, can't do it right now.
I can give you my four.
Go right ahead.
Bill Russell, Michael Jordan. I would also have to say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Mm-hmm. And the fourth person, I'm torn between Kobe and LeBron.
I would have to give that some thought. I have to sit back. I in years past, I've done a 1980s decade team, a 70s. I mean, now just who I've always admired, and he doesn't get as much credit, the Big O. Average a triple-double for his career.
Yes.
That is outstanding. Of course, you mentioned Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, a lot of rings,
right?
Championships.
But I think for basketball is such a unique categorizing sport as far as I'm concerned. I think you should have a Mount Rushmore for forwards, Mount Rushmore for centers, Mount Rushmore for guards. That's just me.
I'm glad. How many people you want to put on there?
No, I'm just saying, you just have different Mount Rushmores. Guards, Mount Rushmore, forwards, or centers. That's just me.
Oh boy, we've got people weighing in, and I
man already.
Yeah.
Are they beating me up already, man?
No, but I'm not gonna give any last names, but Derek says, and it could be Derek whoever, but will he get the 100,000 and 2-year extension after the SWAC whoops up on them and they leave SWAC for Division Two? Of course. And he says Kobe over LeBron.
Okay. Oh my God. Man, he's got.
Well,
you know what? I love the SWAC. I love the SWAC. There's no place like the SWAC, baby.
Well, you're absolutely right. And from a social media standpoint, their alums and fans are up there. And these comments are pouring in. I wonder how that started. With the Mount Rushmore? Is that how it started?
Perhaps. You the one that started Mount Rushmore, not me.
Well, I know I just gave credit to LeBron, and deservedly so. And not, and the Lakers, and Anthony Davis. Ultimately, that is the guy you really didn't have an answer for.
Right.
But then the runner-ups. See, I am happy with second place to a point. The Miami Heat had an outstanding season, fell short, but the future is bright. But
see, now
you've heard me say this before, but my guess, I'll see what they can weigh in on all of this. But the Miami Heat, outstanding season as well.
I got to jog your memory just for a moment now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 4 or 5 months ago, you were saying that it's time for Pat Riley to pass the torch. You recall that?
Yeah, and guess what? You can't do something forever.
Well, because he's about 96, right?
Well, he's up there, but I don't think he's 96. But, even when you've done a pretty, very good job, do you believe in it's time to kind of pass it on to someone
who
you've brought in and tutored them, for lack of a better word, and then you turn it over? I do believe sometimes people stay too long, pass when they need to.
Well, this is truly believe the case of Riley. You can only wear your hair. This is not the 80s anymore, Pat. Let it go. It's over with.
but you can see his influence on that organization and quote unquote hashtag Heat culture. It's certain things that they're going to expect, and you will have to do that, or you won't be there. And there have been some lean years before this year, and so you've kind of seen the progress.
So, do you think he fades in the sunset now that he had this great year? Okay, I've got it back to his prominence. Let me get out of here now.
I think in the next couple of years, albeit hopefully sooner than later, that he will go into a consultant role and retire, and whoever they bring in to take his place would be someone who could come in and continue the work. But it's going to be interesting to see how this team, how they will develop. Because, you know what, I saw something that was interesting. And not to say that it hasn't happened before, but Jimmy Butler was in the gym the next morning trying to get better. And he took it hard. He said it was his fault. No, I'm not going to agree with that, Jimmy. That you didn't get that game 6. You got that game 5, and it took a lot of energy.
Well, he's just got a different engine, man. Like I told you guys before, he has a totally different engine, and he's taking it to heart, and he's going to do everything within his power to improve his portion of that team.
And you got to love the work ethic.
No doubt.
Yeah, you got to love it. So all the things that you've heard about him and some things you heard about at different teams, he just wants to win. And sometimes he'll, at that point in his career, he would come off kind of overly tough, brash, but the bottom line, he wanted to win. So once again, congratulations to the Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of fans out there, Lakers fans, even in Louisiana, Texas. They're an outstanding organization. Let me take a quick time out. I promise to get to some of your comments, but 10:15, it's time to take a break. And when I come back, I'll visit with Coach Carlos Funches, kind of get an update on the opening days of practice for Southern University women's basketball team. We'll ask him about expectations. We'll ask him about this season of practice starting, of course, with a global pandemic going on. And then I looked at the schedule. And as far as I can see, it's conference games only. But, maybe my middle-aged eyes didn't see it correctly. Maybe it's going to be some additions to the schedule, but we can get all that information from him. Take a time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association, or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swakalumniassociation@yahoo.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's first guest is head women's basketball coach at Southern University. His name, Coach Carlos Funches. Coach, good morning to you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing fine. A beautiful Saturday morning. 63 degrees in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You got to love it, Coach.
You got to love it. I mean, it looks like we're getting a little cool weather and things are about to turn into a true winter around here. It's basketball season.
I heard that. And speaking of basketball, let's get into it. First, couple of days of practice. How's it been going?
Well, we've been working out for a while, off and on. We started about 3 weeks ago. For Coach Banks had us following all CDC guidelines and things like that to make sure that we were properly. And got started. Had to stop for a couple of days and make sure that we had all the guidelines in place once again, and then got started back up. But things have been going extremely well. We didn't have a chance to work out this summer, so we were behind from day one. But the kids are working extremely hard.
Coach, to your point, I saw on social media, some videos and pictures of the young ladies, working out in the weight room and getting ready for the season. You mentioned about COVID in the protocol, well, that's the way I'm phrasing it, putting it in place. You have to do that. I understand. How difficult was it, being that you're used to, of course, not having a pandemic going on, but the adjustments that you had to make with it, even with your practice sessions? How difficult has it been?
Carlos, I mean, it's been a trying year. Back in March, when everything started and the kids went home, a couple of days after we were supposed to go to the conference tournament, we let our young ladies go home, and think we'll be back in 2 weeks, possibly. And that 2 to 3 weeks into 6 months, 5, 6 months. And we usually keep all of our kids here all summer and work out, conditioning, doing training, individual training and things like that. And, with them being off for that period of time, I mean, it was tough. It was tough. They tried to do some things, but most of them could not get in the gym. Like us here in Louisiana, our out-of-state kids didn't have a facility that they could go to and do basketball things. So some of them worked out outside and tried to do some kind of conditioning, and we sent them workout plans and things like that. But, it's not like being here, being monitored,
right.
Just making sure that they were doing what they needed to have their bodies in shape coming in the fall. And, of course, once we got here in the fall, it was still another 3 weeks to a month before we could do anything. So it's been really trying, but the kids, made the best out of a bad situation. And, everybody has, coaching staff as well. So we've been doing a lot of different things, just trying to get them started and get back to the groove of working out, conditioning, making sure they're eating right. And
yeah. Coach, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. Questions are coming in, and I'm trying to look at it for you. Now, it affords me the opportunity to ask a question from the listeners. It said, ask Coach Funches, when will the preseason schedule be finalized, and has a plan been formulated for fan attendance at home in the FG Clark Activity Center? And Coach, you just said it's been a trying time, but if you could speak on those couple of questions.
Right now, we're probably not going to play any games at home until conference starts. Our first conference game is January the 2nd. So that would be versus Texas Southern. That would most likely be our first home date. The NCAA pushed back the starting date to November the 25th. Originally, it was November the 10th. Now, we can't play any preseason games or anything like that. So we're going straight into a regular season. We possibly might play a game on the 25th. That's still kind of up in the air. But right now we have Kansas State scheduled on November 29th. That's going to be our first regular season game. Well, our first game, period. And in December, we have a slate of games on the road. December the 2nd, Oklahoma State. December the 4th, Wichita State. Then on December the 8th, Missouri. And then we come back home. All those games will be one trip for us. We'll come back home, and then we'll go to Mississippi State on December the 18th, and then end up with Texas Tech on December the 21st. So, like I say, once again, to play games at home is going to be tough right now. So our first scheduled home game would be Texas Southern on January the 2nd.
So let me make sure I'm clear. Pre-conference schedule, of course, they'll be all on the road. How can I put it? What's the chances of those games? All those games are going to go on?
Yes, I think so. Okay. We will be testing. The NCAA is not mandating 3 tests per week, but that's what they recommend. Now, currently, we test once a week. Our young ladies do. So, anybody has anything like that, of course, we need to get them tested again at that time. We test every day. We have little fog machines to do the locker rooms and out in the arena and things like that. Of course, we do the Lysol. We wear our masks. Just trying to stay safe, trying to take all the necessary precautions, to stop the spread of corona. Now, since we've been here, none of our kids have tested positive. Again, we test once a week, so we've been very fortunate not to have anybody test positive.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing, and testing is important. Of course, multiple tests would be great, but hey, I understand the situation that you're dealing with. So, with that being said, you're going to have a pre-conference schedule all on the road. First home game will be, and I've gotten pulled up here from Go Jag Sports. We start off Prairie View and Texas Southern. Always that usual tough conference opening 2 games, huh, Coach?
It's always tough. Last year going into those games, that put us at playing a stretch of, I think it was 9 games consecutive on the road, if you dated back to the pre-conference games, leading to our first 2 on the road at Texas Southern. So we played 9 straight on the road. So we're kind of used to being on the road. It'll be good to start at home this year.
Oh, Coach, before I forget, fans in the FD Clark Activity Center, probably that's going to be tough, correct?
Yeah, we hadn't had any discussion about it. Being that we're so far out right now, probably 3-4 months away from starting, but I'm sure we'll have some dialogue about it. And Coach Banks and his staff have been great about, just going by what the state mandates. If it's 25%, it'll be 25%. So I'm sure they're still going to follow those same guidelines.
We're visiting with Coach Carlos Funches, women's basketball coach at Southern University. Coach, expectations, and I understand what you talked about so far. Yeah. Expectations, your team, and this will be year 3, correct? 4 years ahead with women's coach.
Yes, sir, year 3.
The first year, of course, a championship. Last year, you fell a little bit short. Expectations still high for you, and your program.
Yes, Carlos. Like most of the teams here, and most of the coaches in the league, you feel like you want to win that championship. You expect to win a championship. That's the mentality that we have. Like I said, not just us, but all the other coaches in the league probably think the same way. You want to win a championship, and that's what we strive for on a daily basis. We take it play by play, drill by drill, and just try to develop that chemistry and that work ethic it's going to take to lead to a championship, hopefully. I thought last year we had a more athletic team. Our championship year. What was lacking was experience.
Mm-hmm.
I thought at least we ended up 13 and 5 in the league last year. The first year we were 14-4. But I thought we lost 3 games last year due to the lack of experience. I don't think it was a talent issue. I think it was an experience issue. We graduated 5 to 7 championship. And, they had a lot of the belt. But I think this year everybody played. I think we'll be a lot more experienced and know how to close out games. Not just on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end. And we lost 3 games last year. I thought we probably should have won. That we could have won.
Mm-hmm.
That we could have won. But as a coach, it's my job to prepare these kids and get them ready to go, and do a better job in late game situations. And I think that's one thing we keyed on this year.
Well, Coach, you talked about experience, and now I pulled up your roster, and I see a little bit of everything. I see a roster stacked with plenty of guards. I see size. I also see Caitlin Williams. Is back 6'1" forward. You got a 6'3". Sandra McGee. You got Raven White. With that being said, and you talked about your expectations, what will be a season that not at the end a championship is involved? How big of a disappointment would that be for you, your staff, and your players based on what you see coming back for this basketball team?
Well, going into the season, you have, team goals and things like that. And ours is to go into every game, number one, being prepared, going out, following your game plan. And then you just see what happens after that. You play as hard as you can, as smart as you can. And then when the buzzer sounds at the end of the fourth quarter, you look up and see who won. That's our expectations out of each and every player. And, I think if you do that, winning takes care of itself. Just go out, play the game the right way, compete each and every day, and that starts in practice, in drills, in individual workouts. You're competing against somebody else. Now, even though, a team might not be here, but they got kids working out also.
Mm-hmm.
So your mindset has to be you trying to outwork somebody. You're just trying to outwork your opponent each and every day, even if you're just shooting jump shots, even if you're just in the weight room lifting. And that's the mentality, the championship mentality that you have to develop. It's always a challenge once you hit that court. And it's the same with the coaching staff. We're breaking down plays and going back and scrapping stuff that didn't really work that well and putting in new things for new personnel. We're coaching against our opponents. The Jackson States, the Prairie Views, the Alabama A&M, Alabama State. So, we have to do the same as the players when it comes to, just competing and staying on top of things.
Well, Coach, I think you were reading my mind because my next point to you was going to be, of course, since you've seen everybody in the conference, so I'll phrase it this way, from a competitive standpoint, in this conference for women's basketball, have you ever seen a time where it's been this competitive? Is this the most competitive you've seen this conference, let's say, in the last few years?
I mean, it's the coaching is going to be very, very good. I think it's been an upgrade year to year. You have a lot of coaches in this league. I think probably 8 out of 10 that have won championships, are going to NCAA tournaments. So, you're going to go against a quality coach team every night. So you just got to have your kids prepared. It's going to be a battle. I mean, there's no easy game to lead. They're going to come ready to play, especially against, because, everybody wants to not beat Southern. Get their best shot, and that's each and every night. So we just have to be ready. Again, like I said, it goes back to practice, workouts, and things like that. You just got to be ready to go every day.
Visiting with Coach Carlos Funches, women's basketball coach at Southern University. Appreciative of the time, as always, Coach. Bethune, speaking of competition, Bethune-Cookman University, FAMU coming into the conference. So you're going to look at the competition, coaching. It's just going to add more to it. Wow. Well, kind of get your thoughts on those two programs coming to the conference.
Well, FAMU just had a coaching change. Struggled a little bit the last couple of years, but I look for them to make a big jump. Bethune-Cookman is a powerhouse. Mm-hmm. They've always been a powerhouse in the MEAC. I think they went to the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago, but prior to that, they won the league like 4 years ago, but they got beat in the, they are a power. They do a great job with the kids and get some really good players down there. Actually, we've been in some recruiting battles with some of those kids because we recruit that Florida area. But, I think it's most definitely an upgrade to the conference. And it's just going to make it even tougher. Make a tough league even tougher.
I would agree from the outside looking in, Coach. Just going to be tremendous competition. going to have some outstanding coaching, and you're going to have to bring your A game. And I'm sure no one has to tell Coach Funches that. Coach, what's the practice preseason schedule looks like for you going forward?
Well, right now, Mondays and Wednesdays we practice at 3 p.m. On Tuesdays and Thursdays we go at 5:45 a.m. every morning. So, that's a tough one. Kids try to get their weightlifting in right after practice. On Fridays we usually go at noon, and we'll come back on Sundays and then practice. A lot of times they go in and try to get some shots in up on Saturdays, but I've been telling them they just need to rest. That's important also. You just can't work. You got to take some time and let your body relax a little bit. But we have a couple of young ladies that's been injured right now, actually 3 of them. So hopefully Monday we'll have everybody back and be full go. But one thing about it, the kids that's been practicing, they've been going extremely hard. I couldn't ask any more out of them. We have some quality young ladies, both on and off the court. Academically, they are very strong. Had over 3.5 GPA back in the spring. So, we're just looking to build on that and just keep recruiting high-character kids that's going to represent Southern University well, both on and off the court. And we got a couple of commitments right now, so we're probably going to sign 4 kids in November. So everything's been going well, doing a lot of virtual things. So, like I say, it's a change in times right now, but we're making adjustments.
I understand it. Just from my perspective, I'm going to look and see Raven White, kind of one of my favorites, a freshman last year, like her work ethic, and Kaylin Williams. It'll be interesting to see her recovery back. But like I said, looking at the roster, height, a lot of guards, interchangeable. It's going to be a very good thing to be able to watch the Southern women's basketball team.
Yeah, Carlos, I think we're going to be extremely deep. We can play 13, maybe 14 players, and when I go to the bench, we're not going to be losing anything. A lot of times the player we bring in does something better than the player that's coming out of the game. So, you have to have depth. That's one thing, especially now with COVID going on. That's a major for us. So if anybody has to sit out or miss some games, we do have, like you said, interchangeable pieces, people that can play multiple positions. So that's a major plus for us.
Understandable. That and a very valid point. Very valid point. Well, Coach, appreciate the time. Joining me here on the Carlos Brown Show. And you're still in the top 3 with those great first names. So,
like
if I could be somewhere 5th or 6th, I'll be happy. But take care, Coach, and look forward to talking with you again real soon.
All right, Carlos, like you, I'll take care.
All right. And that was Coach Carlos Funches, women's basketball coach at Southern University. Going to take a quick timeout. When I come back, Rod Walker. He'll join me next time, Picayune, New Orleans Advocate. We'll see if we can pull some information out of him. And one of the things I was thinking about is, has the time come, this time next year, will the Saints have a new starting quarterback? You know what? I think it's time. I really do. I think it's time. Reality sets in for the Saints. But we'll get into that. NFL top teams, in his opinion, some NBA, all of that coming up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and another, and many, many more. And we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Rod Walker, Times-Picayune, New Orleans advocate, joins me now. Mr. Excitement himself. Rod, good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Rod. I didn't get a text message after the finals. I guess you thought maybe I was drowning in sorrow or something.
I hope you wouldn't. I mean, most people didn't have y'all getting there, but I do remember saying about 6 weeks ago that I think they were in the first round, then maybe the second round. I thought y'all had a shot, and thought y'all played well. And obviously the injuries, you know, they had some guys that were hurt, and I mean, I don't know if y'all were good enough to beat the Lakers anyway, but it was a really good playoff run for the Heat. And, you know, I think Eric Spoelstra, there were a lot of people who probably didn't, you know, weren't big Spoelstra guys, but I think he earned a little respect and people feel like he can coach now. So, future looks bright for Miami. I think y'all will be able to pick up somebody in free agency probably. I mean, just, you know, who wouldn't want to go play? Who would want to go live in Miami?
I've never been there, but that's on the bucket list. Rod, you've been to Miami and South Beach, correct?
I've only been there once, though, but yeah, I've only been once.
Oh, but at least you've been once.
Yeah.
At least you've been once. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to come back to some NBA and kind of flow something that I'm hearing in the wind about a third piece being added to the Heat. And I don't know if I can just comprehend it, but it's all, you know, rumor. Nothing official, but I'll come back to that. I congratulate the Los Angeles Lakers. Now I'm going to go to the NFL, and actually I'm not going to start with the Saints right off the bat, Rod, but we're looking at this NFL so far. You've had teams that had to reschedule games. You've seen the impact of COVID-19 on the NFL. With all that being said, who are your top teams so far in this NFL season?
NFL, I would say NFC, I think Seattle and Green Bay are probably the best. I'd probably put Seattle slightly ahead just because I think Russell Wilson's just playing really, really well. And so I'd probably put them 1 and Green Bay 2 in the NFC. And on the other side, I mean, I know Kansas City lost, and I still think they're the favorite, especially, you know, adding Le'Veon Bell. But I'm a little biased on this one because this is a team I root for. I don't really do it publicly, but I think the Steelers are playing really well too. And I know when the season started, I picked Ben Roethlisberger as my comeback player of the year. I just thought he'd have a really good season, and I just think I think Tomlin. I don't know if people talk about the job he's done, but I mean, I think he's done a tremendous job. I mean, they went, I think it was 8-8 last year with all the injuries, and so I think the Steelers are a team that you probably need to watch out for. But and obviously the Ravens are still good, but right now I still think Kansas City is the favorite coming out of that side. So if I had to pick a Super Bowl right now, I'd probably say Kansas City and Seattle.
Very interesting. Mr. Wilson has just done outstanding so far at Seattle. You're not sold on Green Bay.
No, I mean that was my second team. I mean, I said Seattle first, and Green Bay would be my second pick if I had to pick someone else. But I just give them an edge just because of Russell Wilson, man. I mean, I think he's finally having. I think he's having an MVP. I think he's the MVP right now. I mean, if you had to pick one, I think he's the guy that you go with. And I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers is right there in that conversation too. But yeah, I just think it's. And I mean, it's still early. I mean, we're just 5 weeks in, so I mean, it'll play out, and we'll get to see. But right now, I lean towards Seattle.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of phrase it as so far. And usually, it's interesting to hear others, their opinions on the top teams so far. But my next point is this: who is a team that bears watching? And we use the terms sleepers, dark horses. So we'll just use the term sleepers right now. And then who's a team right now that you just didn't think of doing well at all? Surprisingly, right now bears to be watched. You have a couple of those teams?
You said bears to be watched. I don't know if you're trying to throw a hint right there, but I think I think they played well, and I don't think I've even watched the Bears play this season, but just kind of looking at some results, I mean, I think they've done well. I think Carolina's exceeded expectations considering they haven't even had Christian McCaffrey, so they're another team. And then you go to the AFC. I think you look at the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they're still undefeated, and they're playing well. And I mean, Derrick Henry's just a monster, running the ball. And I know you probably want me to get to the Saints at some point in this conversation, so we can.
Oh, we're heading there next, Rod.
Okay, we can. Okay,
but I'm surprised that Tennessee has. You mentioned them. I didn't even mention them at all. And then a big game coming up tomorrow. I almost said today. What about the Cleveland Browns? And they got a big one with the Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers tomorrow. Yeah, I mean they've played well too, and I mean obviously they have the pieces, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm being biased here because I'm a Steelers guy. I think the Steelers will. I think it'd be a little reality check for the Cleveland Browns. I think the Steelers own the Browns, and they're gonna put them in their place tomorrow.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, they are a good team though. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, that's one to watch tomorrow. And now, as you kind of mentioned a few seconds ago, New Orleans Saints. Of course, most of some of the audience are Saints fans. I'm a Saints fan. It has been I'm looking for the right term. Right word to use for the Saints. It's been frustrating, maybe, from what you've seen so far after a couple of games. Drew Brees' arm is shot. He can't throw downfield. Malcolm Jenkins on the other side has had some issues, but not just to single those two out because it's offensively and defensively they've had some problems. Albeit it's still early. Have the Saints underachieved so far? Are there some legitimate concerns?
No, I think they've underachieved. I mean, I think if you look at that schedule before the season started, I think you probably go back to the expectations. Everybody had coming into the season. I mean, this was a team that you think would be 4-1 at worst at this point, and instead they're 3-2 and could easily be. I mean, they're inches away from being 2-3 if that field goal goes in Monday night by Michael Bailey for the Chargers. So, I mean, this is a team they're staring at 2-3. And the good thing, I mean, this is a team that sort of had slow starts in the past. I mean, they just, for whatever reason, they can't play well at the beginning of the season. Then they sort of hit that gear and start clicking. But you look at the schedule, I mean, they played Detroit, the Chargers. You throw the Green Bay game out. I mean, that's a really good team. They beat Tampa Bay. It was a good team, and they lost to the Raiders. I mean, they haven't played the Chiefs yet. Carolina's obviously improving. That's what they play next. So I think when you look at the schedule they have and what they've done, I mean, I don't think they
the Saints haven't shown anything to make you think, okay, this is a legitimate Super Bowl team. I mean, they haven't done it yet this year. And, maybe they'll get it together, but 5 games into the season, I don't think anybody can be, if you're a Saints fan, you can't be happy with what you've seen. The only silver lining is that you are 3-2 and haven't played your best yet.
I'm visiting with Rod Walker, the New Orleans Advocate. Rod Walker, some comments are coming in. Quarterback Brees' arm shot. Seems like he can't throw past 10 yards. Saints defense, weak defensive backs. I know you're on social media. Are those the comments you kind of been hearing?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think people have questioned Brees' arm all season, and I think rightfully so. I mean, you look at these first 5 games. I mean, he may throw it downfield once during the game. You can see that he can't. Like, he completed the pass to Jared Cook on Monday night, but for the most part, it's just been dumping the ball off. I mean, you look at Alvin Kamara right now; he's 3rd in the entire NFL in receptions, behind DeAndre Hopkins and Amari Cooper. And this is a running back who's 3rd in the league in receptions. And I don't think that's just because Alvin's such a great. I mean, Alvin is great catching the ball, but I think that's just because that's best for Drew. I mean, that's what he can. It's the pass he can complete. And I think even when Michael Thomas comes back, I mean, you'll see some of that same. A lot of those short routes that I think Brees is really comfortable making those throws. And so I think there's a concern, and I think other teams are starting to see that now. And that's going to be something the Saints going to have to overcome. I mean, they've been bringing in Taysom sometimes to try to throw it, just to kind of get the defense off balance. But I think if you're a Saints fan, I mean, that's something to be concerned about. This is a team that can't afford to fall behind anymore, because I don't think they can just catch up like they could in the past. But I mean, I say that, and they did. They caught up again. They were able to rally against Detroit and against the Chargers. So maybe that's not fair for me to say, but I do think that Brees' arm is definitely something to be concerned about. I think the secondary definitely has to fix its issues as well. I mean, they made Justin Herbert look like Joe Montana the other night. So there's some concerns with this team, and they have a bye week, and maybe they can fix some of the issues during the bye week. But I mean, you should be concerned. I mean, this team isn't even in they're tied for first place. I mean, you can tell that the NFC South is going to be a little tougher this year. So definitely some reasons to be concerned if you're a Saints fan.
Yeah, a little tougher. Some coaches already been let go. Here's a clue: when your team hasn't won any game, and then you got a losing streak, chances are a coach is going to be let go, and in some cases, the coach and the general manager. If you get my drift.
Right.
A listener says, Rod, the Saints are not the same without Mike Thomas. By the way, he just happens to be an all-world wide receiver. I guess my point is, it will be more alarming. And I know you got to have, but they have timing. They should be. When Michael Thomas comes back after this bye week. I thought I heard you mention that the difference. Will they still stick to the same type of game plan, feeding Alvin, or will you see Michael kind of get back into the groove of things with him and Drew Brees?
I think Michael will definitely get back into the groove of things. I don't like these numbers Kamara's put up so far. I mean, he's on a record pace for reception for a running back. I think that goes down once Mike comes back, because I mean, obviously you throw the ball to Mike, you're getting the ball 10 yards down the field as opposed to dumping it off to Kamara. So I think Mike's catches would definitely, he'll get back to like who he was, and they'll still use Kamara a lot, but again, it's just going to be those big throws down the field that, I mean, you're just not going to see them. I mean, I just don't think the Saints are made like that anymore. And at this point, you're just trying to win and move to the next week. But again, the defense is going to have to play better, though. I mean, that's kind of what's made this team so good the past few years, is that the defense was able to help the offense out, and they're going to have to get back to doing that if this team wants to be good, because right now they're just, to me, I think the Saints are just an average team right now. And, I mean, who would have thought we would say that about the Saints? But to me, that's where they are right now.
Well, it is what it is, and your opinions, we will note them, and still have, more season to play for the New Orleans Saints. If I can, let me move on past the Saints and now back to the NBA. Of course, the Lakers are the champions. You've had some coaching moves. Now you maybe can focus now on the Pelicans. I saw where Stan Van Gundy interviewed for a position. Oh, wow. That was kind of surprising. Where do the Pelicans stand? Is there a time limit they're looking to hire a head coach?
I think, just kind of based on just kind of what I've been hearing, I think, I do think it's Van Gundy's job, and I think it could have been Ty Lue's job if he wanted it, but obviously, he took the Clippers' job, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever it was. So I think it'll be Van Gundy. I think we'll probably hear something in the next couple of days. I just think that's probably the direction they're going. And, yeah, again, it's just, people talking. And
no, I understand.
I think they'll make a move here soon. We don't know when the season's going to start, but you got the draft coming up here eventually, and it's time to make a move. You can't just let it linger on. The season's over. David Griffin's had a chance to, he can interview all the people now. There aren't any more assistant coaches that are still coaching, so I think they'll do something soon. They supposedly got it narrowed down, so I just think I don't see why they'd be prolonging this thing.
And when you look at the way this Pelicans roster is made, what they have there, I don't think the cupboard is bare. Does it mind saying that you have to have a veteran coach? Because I hear some people say, well, they're a young team, they need a player's coach. But is an old school coach, in your opinion, like a Gundy, is better for the Pelicans? How do you fall on that debate between a player's coach versus a veteran coach who can bring some discipline to the roster?
Yeah, I see some pros and cons to both of them, but I think, and the few people I've just talked to about Van Gundy, they think that he'll be able to get the most out of this team, and people respect him, and the players. I think there are players who really like playing for him. I think I don't think this Pelicans team I think it's a team with some guys they're young, but they want to win, and I think they're willing to listen. And there are some times I thought Gentry may have been Gentry's a player's coach. I think there were sometimes he didn't get them. I don't know if I should say sometimes or most times. I don't know if he got the most out of those guys every night. Like, you never really knew what you were going to get out of the Pelicans every game. They just weren't consistent. And I think Van Gundy can get that consistency out of them. And I think that, that alone, I think, can win this team 10 more games than they normally win, because they just didn't always play hard. And I think he can get that out of them, and that may be the difference. And again, you're looking at how strong the Western Conference is. This team could be better next year and still not make the playoffs, because, there's not going to be too much fall off in those teams that made the playoffs in the West this past season, other than, OKC may fall off a little bit, but everybody else is going to probably still be right in the mix, and plus Golden State's going to be good again probably. So I just think the Pelicans in the Western Conference is just going to be tough regardless. So you just want to see a team that can come out and play hard and consistent and win some games that it's not supposed to win, and win the ones that you are supposed to win.
Yeah, well, if you kind of can look ahead to next season, of course, you have the Lakers, the defending champions. You have someone just asked, what about Mark Jackson? Doc Rivers now in Philadelphia. But Mark Jackson seems to, I don't know, he can't get an opportunity, it seems like now. Or am I missing something on that?
Yeah, and I don't know, because I don't know how bad he's trying to get back into it. I mean, to me, he'd be an obvious, choice. I mean, I know there's some people who who weren't big Mark Jackson fans, but I think he'd be a good choice as well. I mean, I just think he's a guy that, he's been out over 5-6 years. So, at some point, you have to wonder, like, okay, does this guy really want to even get back in it? Or I can't understand like why nobody would give him an opportunity, because he seems like a no-brainer, really. But again, I don't know how much he just loves his television gig and whatever. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting. Houston Rockets still don't have a coach. There are rumors now that they may ship off Westbrook again, but I would think he has such a huge contract. How that will work out. But if you kind of look at the early favorites, of course, the defending champions in the West, and boy, Tyronn Lue at the Clippers. Have you ever seen anything like that? When you talk about expectations are high and they were not able to get it done, then you got Denver in the West. Man, and then you look at the East. Can the Heat continue to get better? Doc Rivers at Philadelphia now. You still have Boston there, Milwaukee. And look, some of the national prognosticators now trying to apply that maybe if you can't beat him, you join him. And the Greek Freak, this time next year, what will he do?
Yeah, I mean, he has a big decision to make. And you didn't even mention Brooklyn. I mean, and Brooklyn's a team with, with KD and Kyrie coming into the fold, so that would be good too. But I think you talked about Giannis. I mean, I think he, I've heard the Giannis to Miami rumors, and I mean, that would make that team really, really. I mean, Miami's good because they really don't even.
Well, my thing with him is practice 1,000 jump shots mid-range and beyond in the morning, 1,000 in the evening.
Yeah,
he's definitely. Then he's unguardable and consistently hit those mid-range and those jumpers.
Yeah, he was definitely missing that from his game. I mean, he's just a guy that can kind of get to the basket, but I mean, obviously he defends well. But yeah, I mean, to me that was the big chink in his armor, and he was missing that. And I think that's what separates him from Anthony Davis. I mean, Anthony Davis just has just more in his arsenal as far as offense, and I think that kind of made the difference for the Lakers there.
So you'll crown the Lakers as a favorite? A favorite for next year, or you want to wait and see?
No. I think it's pretty close with all. I mean, you got all those teams you mentioned, plus Brooklyn. I think they're all in that conversation. I don't think. I mean, the Lakers, man. Outside of AD and LeBron, I mean, you just never knew if those role players were going to really show up. I mean, obviously Rondo was pretty consistent during the playoffs, and KCP played well in stretches there. But I mean, I don't know if the Lakers have enough where I'll make them the favorites. I mean, I think the Clippers are probably still a team that on paper they looked the part on paper, but apparently they didn't want to really be in the bubble. It seems like they just weren't. I think to win the bubble, I mean, you had to really have that. You had to have a different type of mentality. You couldn't just be in there and with the load management mentality and all that. You had to be really focused on trying to get to the finish line, and I think the Lakers just kind of had that edge over everybody when it came to that, because LeBron was really determined to win a title.
Well, it's going to be interesting. All of the speculation, that's kind of the fun part, the predictions, prognosticators. But as you stated, you got to get it done on the court, or if it's in football, on the field. And last but not least, you know a little bit about the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I'm just interested in your perspective on Jackson State and Coach Sanders at Jackson State, and we'll get more into it in the second hour, his contract at Jackson State. I have people from A to Z leaving comments about that, but if you would like to, what are your thoughts on that situation?
I think, well, first of all, I just think if you look at the publicity Jackson State's gotten in the past I don't know how long it's been, 3 weeks or however long it's been since they made the hire. I mean, you can't buy that sort of publicity. I mean, they've been in Sports Illustrated, they've been on ESPN, they've been on the SEC Network on Paul Feinbaum's show. Deion's been on there. So I think that, I mean, you just can't buy that. I mean, SWAC schools don't normally get that kind of attention. So I think what they've done with that has been really good. I know I saw the line for their season tickets last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. It was wrapped around the building because people are fired up about it. And I mean, I think when you're trying to build a program, I mean, that's getting the fans involved really helps. I mean, that's where the money comes from. And, so I think the move as far from that standpoint has been a great move for them. And I think Deion, if he understands, because I think you do have to have an understanding of the SWAC to kind of know how it works, and you have to be willing to work hard. And there's going to be, I mean, college football coaching is a hard job. I mean, it's not, I mean, those guys work around the clock. So Deion's going to have to either be able to be willing to do that or have the right guys around him to do that. And so that's going to be the key. And I think that he can get this program where he wants it to be. And he's trying to, kind of change the mindset and get these black kids back to going to SWAC schools like they used to do back in the day. And, if he goes in with that mentality, and I think they can be really successful. As far as the contract, I mean, I thought it was a lot of incentives in there. And so, I mean, I think it works well. I think the fans are, like I say, I think they're buying in. So that's what's important.
Well, I want to know your thoughts, your perspectives. I've talked to a couple of people off the record that are coaches in the conference, and I'll tell you this: they can't wait. They can't wait to get it on, whether that's in the spring or will that be in the fall of 2021. Can one say bullseye?
Oh, yeah, he definitely going to have a target on his back, and everybody's going to want to, I mean, everybody want to beat, they want to beat Jackson State, and you want to beat Southern anyway, but they're really going to want to beat Jackson State this year, and I get it. I definitely understand it.
Well,
and I hope Jackson State doesn't, I don't want this to, I hope it doesn't all be about the coach, because it's, I mean, that's not what it should be about. It should be about Jackson State. So hopefully, Deion doesn't try to make it all about himself too much, because that will rub some people the wrong way. So,
well, we'll have to see assistant coaches. We've heard of a lot of experience coming, but until we actually can get a chance to look at who's going to be on the staff, and as I've often said, position coaches, they need to be rewarded. And when you have the money there, and as you stated, it's not all about the head coach, but the people around him. So we'll see how that goes. And with adding FAMU and Bethune-Cookman to the conference, you just can't wait. Just hopefully this COVID-19 situation can get better before it gets worse. But
I agree.
We will see.
Yeah.
We will see. Well, Rod, appreciate the time, your thoughts and perspectives on the NFL, the NBA, and even the added twist on the Jackson State situation. So, I guess you'll rest this week. Maybe not. You don't have a game.
Yeah, I mean, it feels. Yeah, we get a little time off this week. We're kind of waiting to see what the Pelicans do, and waiting to see if the Saints are really going to try to play a game in Baton Rouge, or if they were just trying to. If they're just trying to make a power play with the Bears. But so that's what we're waiting on.
I never say never, but you remember the last time they played after Katrina? Hurricane Katrina, and God rest his soul, Benson was in a feisty mood, boy. He went after a camera guy from a local television station and basically said, we'll never play a game back here in Baton Rouge. So.
Yeah, I wasn't here then, but I actually heard that story the other day. One of my this guy who works here, he used to write here, Ted Lewis, tell me that story about Mr. Benson and the camera guy. So this is the second time I've heard that story this week.
Yeah, he was feisty. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I saw the footage. He went after the camera guy.
Yeah.
And so never say never. But with the way COVID-19 is going, and a lot of collegiate games have been postponed and what have you, moved. That is a tough enemy, the invisible virus. So
right, yeah.
Rod, stay safe, be safe.
You too, man.
And we'll talk again real soon.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All righty, appreciate it. Rod Walker, the New Orleans Advocate, joining me here on the Carlos Brown Show. Yeah, people are weighing in on several topics. NBA coaches, why this coach is not getting a shot. Still, the Coach Sanders contract at Jackson State. That is a topic I see people are still discussing. So we'll take a time out. When I come back, I'll visit with Coach Van Pettaway. Let's kind of get his perspective on everything that's going on in the world of sports. Is it time for Drew Brees? Matter of fact, what's the other guy, the famous guy that's now at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? No. Brady, the greatest of all time, according to some of you. I think it's time for him as well. And but it's interesting. It's good for discussion and debate. But if you look at it, if your team is not performing the way you expected them to, have a little faith, but also be a realist and realize the shortcomings and their strengths. So on that note, take a time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine.
Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. I had a Bethune-Cookman University alum. He basically sends me footage of the Bethune-Cookman University Wildcat Band, and I'm excited. He believes in that band, and I'm sure each and every one of you believes in your band. If you're Alabama A&M alum, you're going to believe in Alabama A&M band. And speaking of Alabama A&M, Coach Pettaway.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and I appreciate that text message you sent me after the 2020 NBA champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. I didn't feel bad, but you made me smile because you really, in that text message, made me feel pretty good about the whole season and how the Heat played well and they fell short. But I appreciate that.
Okay,
true,
and I knew that was your team, and
I wanted to make sure that you were in a good place, and also to encourage you by letting you know that your Miami Heat exceeded most people's expectations. But the biggest thing is biggest takeaway I took from that is they're a team of the future. I think they have a very bright future ahead.
Yeah. Well, Coach, they say sometimes the future isn't promised, but I understand what you're saying, and they're moving in the right directions.
Correct.
Let me ask you this: what can they? I often say you have to improve. You can't, just sit by idly. What do you see from a coach perspective that the moves that they can make in the offseason to make them a better team?
Well, I think they got to get some help in the paint. It was very obvious that there was a mismatch inside. They got to get bigger. They got to get a backup to Bam that can give them some good minutes. They need another power forward in there who can help match up when they play against larger teams, because everybody's not going to play the way Houston played now. So when you got a big front line, you got to be able to match up with that. That's the only thing I see. Schematic wise, they do a very good job. Coach Spoelstra has shown that he knows what he knows how to coach. He knows how to motivate. And then, of course, they got the great Pat Riley that's helping them get pieces, bringing in pieces to fit their style. And when you say their style, that just simply means the way that they play, the way they do things on the court and off the court. That's what they mean when they say about the Miami style. So he's bringing in people who are tough-minded, who play defense on the defensive end like they should, and at the same time they're good citizens. And I think that's the combination that they look for when they try to bring people in there.
And for the Lakers, Coach, talking to people who have been very competitive from an athletic standpoint, they've often told me that the year after winning in this case, an NBA championship, or whether it's a state championship in high school, collegiate championship, that next year you better be focused as well, because you're going to have everybody's eyes on you.
Right, you got the target on your back. So, yeah, I think the Lakers know that. And the only thing about professional sports is that it's hard to keep your rosters together, because there's already talk of Rondo leaving because he has that option. He's a free agent, so he may take a deal somewhere else. And that would really hurt the Lakers now, because that's one of the things that they're missing. They got to have a true point guard in there. LeBron's a great player, but he's not really a point guard. He's just a facilitator. But he can't defend that point guard that'll be there night in and night out. And then he's not quick enough to get some of the things done. Rondo was the big key. A lot of people, are talking about LeBron because it's obvious that he's got the ball in his hands 90% of the time. So you got to talk about it. But if Rondo leaves that team and they don't get another true point guard in there, Lakers won't repeat. They will not be back. You got to have somebody else in there that can help break down those defenses, and that's what a good point guard would do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I understand, and you have to remember it's a business,
right?
And I was telling somebody I just thought Anthony Davis was just a hard cover for most people.
Yeah.
Here's a guy 6'11", has guard attributes, long and lean and athletic, and he can defend basically everybody on the court, at least 2 through 5.
Right.
But that was a tough thing. And then you have your other people like Pope. He played well. I don't know what his contract situation is, but it looks like he's bounced around a little bit. But he may have an opportunity now to go somewhere else.
Right. See, and that, like I said, that's the problem on the collegiate level, because it's hard to keep your rosters intact for a number of reasons, luxury tax and all that kind of stuff. And then you look at what LA is going to be facing. Anthony Davis is going to have an option coming up. And they're going to have to, break the bank to keep him in L.A. And then that means that with he and LeBron making the bulk of the money, that's less money to go around for the other people. And that's what makes it tough.
Yeah, because I'm looking, right now, Anthony Davis expressed uncertainty. Does it hurt or help in this case when you've won a championship? Is there still a fire for, say, in the case of Anthony, to win multiple championships or have an opportunity to?
Right. I think he wants to win multiple championships, and right now I think the way the system is set up, only the Lakers can offer him the Lakers. He can get the most money from the Lakers, but the Lakers have to look at, if you're giving him a max contract and LeBron a max contract, that doesn't leave very much money left to fill out a roster. And then that's the problem. You don't have the depth. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be, they've got to be creative, because I know they want to keep Anthony in there. I think one of the things that can happen, LeBron can go back and renegotiate his contract. He can take less money so that the other guy, they can get suitable people in there. Because, money is not an issue for him. He's making more money away from the game than he is in his contract. So that would be one of the ways that they could make sure that they got a good, strong roster by him renegotiating his contract.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a business, and every year is different. You got to go through negotiations to put a product on the floor. I'm visiting with Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Coach, kind of get your thoughts on the Coach Deion Sanders situation at Jackson State. Of course, the contract, details of the contract have been put forth with Coach Sanders.
Well, I think it's a good move. That's a good contract for the other coaches in the SWAC. By me, what I'm saying is, because his stuff is out there publicly, now the other coaches know what they can go back and ask for. They're not going to get the exact same thing, but all of them can improve their present contract. I think he has a good contract. I mean, total value, $1.2 million over the 4 or 5 years or whatever it was. And then I like his incentives. He's got a attendance clause in there. If they make over 30, anything over 30,000, he gets a percentage of that. Then of course the championship money. If he wins a SWAC championship, if he wins the East Division title, he's got perks for that. All of that is great. And then the other thing he's got in there, they got the academic clause in there. If he's reaches a certain number with the APR, he gets a bonus. That kind of stuff, that's standard for most coaches' contract. The only thing that's different is the dollar amount. The coaches they're not getting, my perks were not that high. I had good perks in there. The one perk that I hate that they took out of my contract was the academic clause. We ended up with a president that felt like we as coaches should not be getting paid if our teams perform well academically, because we were working on a college campus and that was to be expected. So they took that out of our contracts, or out of my contract. And I thought that was wrong. And it was during a time where a lot of teams and kids were struggling in the classroom. So I thought that was a great perk. And it was certainly a perk that I could always reach, because I made sure my kids were in study hall and I made sure they were going to class, because in the back of my mind, I'm doing the right thing, get those kids prepared, but at the same time, I'm providing extra income for my family. So the perks and contracts are really good. And the fact that Deion's contract is public, it'll help some of the other football coaches in the SWAC with their contracts when it's time to renegotiate theirs. And I told you all up front that it would be a lot of pluses to his hire. And I think it came out last week that the publicity that he has brought to Jackson State is valued at over $12 million. and schools can't pay for that. They can't afford that. And so here they are getting all of this free. So he's doing some great things, but he's got to get in there. The one thing I'm concerned about is he won't get there until December, and they start in January. To me, that's going to hurt because, he could be trying to sew up some of those recruits if he had a staff already in place, and I don't think he's even done that yet. So that's going to be tough now. And then the other thing that contract has done for him, too, now, is put a target on his back. Because if the football coaches are anything like the basketball coaches that I dealt with in the SWAC, all of them are going to be saying, okay, you making the money, but can you win on, on the field? And that's going to be an extra incentive for those schools to come after Jackson State. So he's got to be prepared for all of that. And I think that's just human nature in all of us, to compete like that because, that's put out there that he's doing better than what they've been doing. And so now they're going to say, you got to win on the field. And they're going to come after him.
I know if I was coaching, and I'm not, I'm too doggone emotional. I would have private meetings with my coaching staff, and you would try not to let it get out publicly, but I've had some, I'll put it this way, I've had some conversations, but I'm also hearing, to your point, these coaches they welcome the challenge.
Right. They do. That's human nature.
And yes, human nature. Look, it could be the situation at Southern University. Aeneas Williams, he's a Hall of Famer. Southern decides to hire him, and you get all of the fanfare, and he's back. If I was him, I would only promise two things. But if it's in your personality, it's in your personality, right, Coach?
Oh, yeah.
You are who you are.
Yep.
And I remember Coach Mitchell, after his press conference at Southern University, I would have only promised two things. We're going to show up, and we're going to play hard.
Yep.
And that way you're safe.
Correct.
Now, privately, I'd like to go out and beat the heck out of people. But
you're all going to skip it.
I have to look at my situation, my personnel. What do I have? But Coach Sanders is who he is. Personality-wise, he's not going to back down, but neither are the coaches that are in this conference. And I talked to some not even in football. There are other head coaches in other sports. And the bottom line is this. You live in a capitalistic society, you get what you can get. But many people have talked about not having coached one game, not even on the high school level as a head coach. That kind of irks them.
Right, right.
But, hey, Jackson State made the decision. That's who they wanted. And they are tremendously happy with it. Now, 2 or 3 years from now, or 2 years from now, we'll see what happens.
Right. You put the contract aside. Deion, Coach Prime, as he wants to be called, is the new kid on the block. So that was going to happen anyway, that the other coaches in the SWAC were going to welcome him to the league. They were going to give him a firm handshake in that pregame talk. And then they're going to try to lower the boom on him during the game. And that was even before the contract came out. The simple fact is that he's the new kid on the block, and that's what happens. It happens to me. It happened to me when I came in the SWAC. Yeah, they welcomed me in with open arms and smiling, but they was trying to beat my brains out.
You didn't do like Coach Stark Mitchell, huh? Say you're going to come out and be undefeated in the conference, and
I have never done that. I learned from the master. That was Coach Joe. You don't do that. You don't. Even if you got that team and you know it, it's just like you say. You talk about it in the office amongst yourselves. But publicly, you don't do that. Because if you go out there and say, I got the best team in the SWAC, your fans expect you to have the best team in the SWAC. Now, what happens when you don't? That's why you don't do that. Well, we always talk about being competitive on the floor. This is the only thing I promise. My team's going to be entertaining, and we're going to get up and down the floor. Now, those two things I can do every game. I can't promise a win every game. But I can promise us how we play. We're going to play hard. We're going to give it our best effort. That I can do. But in terms of putting a number on winning games and championships, that's expected, but you don't have to go out and say it.
Yeah, and I don't think Coach Sanders will come out and say going undefeated and all of that good stuff, but I think he feels confident in what he could get done at Jackson State. And, whether the spring happens or not, December 1st of this year, and it runs to December 15th, 2024. Now, they got perks in there of interest and where it's incentive laden. Also, it seems to have some protection in place for Jackson State.
Right. If he leaves, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he leaves, he owes them 50% of his contract. The school looked out for themselves. He looked out for himself, because if they fire him, they got to pay him. So, that kind of stuff is normal. The only thing that's not normal on our level would be the payback. We know I never had to give my school back anything because you never really got much in return anyway.
If you look, and Coach, if you look at some of the coaches, they go back and look at Coach Fobbs, who, God bless him, we're still trying to get him on the show, but with a couple of hurricanes in that part of Southwest Louisiana, which Coach Fobbs has a lot of interest in that area. We respect his decision to trying to work on that, and hopefully we'll be able to get him on soon. But with that being said, he has a couple of conference championships, and he has a nice contract as well.
Right.
That I was able to go back and look at. There are some coaches who they're going through the process. They're looking for opportunities. They haven't gotten it so far. Also, you have position coaches. I'm not talking about coordinators, but defensive line coach, offensive line coach who do a bulk of the coaching. In some cases, they're underpaid. So that's why it kind of fits to a certain situation to different people about how can they get a shot, how can they get paid better in their profession.
Well, they got to put the work in. Number one, number two, they have to be in the right place to get that, and then once they get there, they got to show not only themselves and other people that they know what they're doing, and you got to put prayer in everything. You pray about it, and I think it'll happen. They just got to work hard. Everybody. You're not going to get the same money everywhere. We got schools in our conference. The pay for the different position coaches, assistant coaches in basketball, it varies from school to school. So it depends on what the philosophy of your school when it comes to salaries and how the people are being paid. Some schools can afford to give out good salaries, some can't. And that's why you as an individual, you have to make sure that you end up in the right place. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got to start from the bottom. So yeah, I may start out low. When I first started as an assistant coach, I only made $16,000 a year as an assistant coach back in the early '80s. Mm-hmm. But I had camp and other things to help supplement my salary. But you weren't making a lot of money back then. But times have changed.
So, Coach Pettaway, when you got in the position as a head coach, experiencing what you just said, did you look out? Did it make you inclined to look out for
you doggone coaches? That's why on my staff, my assistants were the highest paid in the SWAC because of what I went through. I wanted that break. I wanted that opportunity. So I accepted it. My wife and I were in a position where I could accept a salary like that in 82 or 83. So I took it. But I knew that things have to be better. And so I worked and made sure that when I was in a position to hire people, that they were hired at a bigger rate. Yep.
Interesting. Visiting with Coach Van Pettaway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M, and now the Coles Brown Show's basketball analyst and sports analyst. How about that? Speaking of, Coach, basketball, particularly, practicing, getting started, I had Coach Fonchez on, and I had a listener says, "Yeah, you tried to trap, Coach." Coach Fonchez is saying, if he doesn't win a championship, will it be a disappointing season? I am guilty as charged. Yes, that listener, he caught that. He's
right,
brilliant.
Yep.
But with that being said, he did also talk about the coaching and being competitive during this time, but it's also been a challenge. This is a preseason like any other with COVID-19.
Right, and I know they were happy. I think Wednesday was their opportunity to start fall practice for basketball all across the country. The coaches I know were excited. The players were excited. Hell, I was excited. I'm not even coaching anymore, but I knew it was time because you know that feeling. Your palms start sweating. You look forward to blowing that whistle to bring them up. That your first opportunity to talk to your team as a whole to start off your year. What wisdom, what knowledge are you going to impart on those kids before they take the floor for the first time? That's what's exciting about this game. And then to see those kids come in, develop, and grow, to see the progress. That's an amazing feeling for a coach, to see those kids grow, learn, and continue to get better. But this is a very difficult time for the coaches because I know they're probably doing it in mass, with all the COVID things that are going on. Things are just totally different. But when you get on that court, I don't think any of that changes. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the work in between those lines.
And put in the work. I just thought about the Godfather, Marino Casson, and I'm a relay and see what your thoughts. One time we were talking. Marino Casson and Jewel Primers, better known as Mama Jaguar. You familiar with her, Coach Pettaway?
Yes, sir. I think she used to come to some of the games, basketball games.
So those were two personalities that, when they spoke to me, I automatically thought I'd done something wrong. I was intimidated. Yes, I'll say that. And I'm sure Dr. Prince heard that as well. I was intimidated by those two individuals. Not many, but those two. But he told me one time, he said, "Brother Brown, I got excited when it was fall camp, but I was extra tough on freshmen." And I was like, "Why, Coach?" "Well, they could develop good habits and bad.
Yep.
They were all stars in high school, but now they've got to, learn over again."
Right, start over.
And he said, but he would love to have them, but he was extra hard on freshmen. With that being said, could you identify? I know you recruited those freshmen, but when they came to that first practice, were they treated equally? Were they treated differently by you, or you had the same philosophy as Coach Casson? I've got to be extra tough on them to get them ready.
Well, no, I was tough on them, but I treated them all the same because I wanted every member on that team to know that we needed everybody that was in that huddle. When we huddled up for that first talk before we ever hit the floor, everybody in that huddle had to know that the guy they're standing next to, you need him too, whether he was a freshman or a senior. So that's how I would do it. But I mean, that's the way I did it. You have to know your personnel. Some freshmen, if you got on them, they leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're not used to you, if they're not used to where you're coaching or handling them, some of those kids will leave, especially now, this generation, because they're not cut from the same cloth as the kids back in the 80s and 90s. So, yep. So, you know, if you don't have a video machine in front of some of them, then they can't function. So you have to handle those kids. You have to know your personnel, and that determines how you handle them. But in the beginning, we got to be together as a group. Everybody in this circle is a part we need. I need my coaches. I need my players. Everybody in this circle, we need each other. We need each other because we've got to fight against those people in the SWAC and everybody on our schedule. And then let the good Lord be for all of us. And that's the way you used to have to approach it. That's the way I approached it.
Well, Coach Pettaway, I'm not surprised, but a bit of fairness. I always thought you were fairness as far as a coach from the outside looking in. But I also know that you were also tough when needed to be. And,
yes, I mean
that was just looking. You know, I wasn't in practice, but just seeing when you came to the FG Cross Activity Center, I would be honest with you. I was like, wow, this guy, he is tough. That's the initial, response that I had. Just looking in the game. But then I also would see you get on a player, and then when he come out the huddle, you give him a pat on the behind of the shoulder.
Right. Well, yeah, that's because I knew my personnel. I know what that guy needed. I got my point across, but I still need this person to go out and contribute. So I got to make sure he's in a good place.
Visiting with Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. So with that being said, it's going to be a challenge, but Jackson State's going to look forward to participating. They expect to win. You know, their fan base, I've often talked about how their fan base is. And they will expect the best. And that's the way.
But I think they're in a good place because the hoopla and the hype that Coach Sanders has brought in there is going to really help that team, help Jackson State. But at the same time, it helps the SWAC, man. All of us are benefiting from him being in this league. And Lord knows if he goes down there and start winning, man, it's going to really blow the roof off this thing. But I think it's going to be every game that they step on the field, people are going to be coming after Jackson State. But he's got the part that I think he's got to pull together real fast is the recruiting aspect. Because I noticed in that Sports Illustrated article that they've already had recruits, and the first thing that they're talking about are facilities. So that's a bad combination now because I experienced that. You get a kid on your campus, and then when it comes down to facilities, in some cases, now in my case, I can only speak for A&M, there were some kids that we brought in, they had better facilities where they came from. So that and from one of the articles that was dealing with the Sports Illustrated about Jackson State had said basically the same thing about a family that was looking at Jackson State for their future, their child, but they brought up the facilities that theirs were better.
I think that's a Hampton kid.
Yeah, so that's going to be an area where Jackson State has to improve on. And then I think we talked about this a while back, and I didn't want people to think when I was talking about, I'm talking about an experience for me, not other schools. I can only speak for what happened to me, and during my time at Alabama A&M, there were kids that we lost because of facilities or lack of facilities.
And Coach, just my opinion. I think that's happened to every member in the conference, at least at one point. Not maybe all, but
right.
I do know that happened over the years. at Southern University, and I'm sure it's happened. Let me put it that way: happened elsewhere in the conference. But once you get them there, you help put them in a position to graduate. 1, 2. When you look back at their career, you can see where, hey, came in as a freshman, as a senior, they're a better player,
person,
and a person, and you've seen the development, and that's what you go look at. At the end of the day, look, everybody knows how I feel because it's Jackson State and Southern, big time rivalry, big time. Not the only rivalry, but a big time. Would I be upset if Southern lost? If they play in the spring, you doggone right I will. I'm not going to commit suicide, but I would not be a person you would want to be around.
Right.
And now here's where the competitiveness comes in. If you're a coach and what have you, you're going to be competitive as well. Thanks. Carly says, working on the facility phases right now at Jackson State. So you can't really wait to see what's going to happen 10 years from now. Although you want to be in a better place, but once again, I'm going to go back to this. It's going to be very competitive. And then when you add the other two institutions in, look out.
Yep.
Just look out. So you better bring your A game.
Yeah, I just think that in all sports, now that you've added, with the additions of Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, we got to come with it. Everybody's got to be ready to play. Those two schools are the new kids on the block. Coach Prime is the new person on the block, and that brings a lot of excitement to the SWAC. And everybody is going to be after those two schools, going to be after that particular coach because they're new to the SWAC. And I think that's going to create some very competitive games. There's going to be a lot of gamesmanship, and I'm looking forward to it. I just hope that, for me as a basketball coach, I hope we can find a way to pull off the basketball season. I know one of the things that the NC2A has done to help, I think the SWAC and the MEAC, they're saying only 4 non-conference games. I think that's going to help because now you don't have to go into your season with double-digit losses. To your conference schedule with double-digit losses. And I've been trying all week to look at schedules in the SWAC. You don't have many teams that have put their basketball schedules out there.
Yeah, I just see conference schedules.
Right. Some of them don't even have the conference schedules up. A lot of the schools still have last year's stuff up there. Even when it comes to the rosters, I tried to look at the rosters, to the preseason rosters, to see what new kids are in the league, and I really couldn't complete that task. So it's going to be interesting, and I think the fact that they're going to wait until November the 25th or 26th before they can play, I think that's a great idea because what that is for us basketball coaches, we know that's Thanksgiving week, and we know that the regular student body is out of there. And in some cases, those kids some schools are not even coming back after Thanksgiving. They're going to go virtual because they didn't want the kids going home, the regular students, going to their respective homes and then coming back to campus because that would have been a no-win situation because some of them would have been bringing the virus back. So that means that the basketball teams, in most cases, are going to be the only people on campus that will help them in getting past the virus. It's going to create almost, in some cases, a bubble-type situation because they're the only people involved. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I wish our SWAC brethren continued success. We're dealing with COVID-19. Everybody who listens, continue to be safe and be vigilant and continue to try to make it. That's all you can really do. And you thank the Creator every day that you're up.
Oh, yeah.
You made it through another day because tomorrow is not promised. And, Coach, we promise to talk with you again real soon.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you. And everybody stay safe and be blessed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Have a great weekend, Coach.
Okay, you too. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. We talked about just, basic information. Hall of Famer, second baseman Joe Morgan. Cincinnati Reds passed away at age 77. I often like to put on social media journey well. Now on to another journey from this physical place. Also, Hall of Famer Fred Dean. Wow. Passed away at 68, but man, I'm telling you, that was a tough cookie. Man, he was an assassin playing at that position, and he wreaked havoc. And of course, Coach Deion Sanders' contract. Those are big stories trending. $300,000 annual salary, $1.2 million deal on a 4-year, $1.2 million deal, reported by Sports Illustrated. Sanders, 53, is to be paid an annual salary of $300,000 as part of a contract that begins December the 1st of this year and runs to December 15th, 2024. Before taking over at JSU, Sanders is completing his job as the offensive coordinator of the Dallas area Trinity Christian Academy, where his son is a highly recruited starting quarterback. Now, the university would owe Sanders the full remaining amount of his contract if they fire him within the first year of his employment. After December 15th, 2021, Jackson State could fire Sanders for a price tag of $300,000. If Sanders were to leave JSU, he'd owe the school 50% of his remaining salary. The Arkansas State Sanders' salary is on par with other FCS head coaches, but it would put him last among FBS public school coaches. However, the contract is loaded with incentives. He receives $25,000 for each win over an FBS team. Gets a $10,000 for a SWAC division title, $30,000 for a conference championship. If his team reaches the Celebration Bowl, a season-ending game pitting the SWAC and MEAC champion, he'd receive $50,000 for a bowl win. Sanders also can get bonus for ticket sales. If a game draws more than 30,000 fans, he gets 10% of all sales. After the 30,000, he receives 10% of all season tickets revenue. After the first 10,000 are purchased, if JSU changes conferences, he gets $100,000. There are several ways to trigger automatic extensions to his contract, including an 8-win regular season, which gets him one extra year. If the athletic director who hired him, in this case, Ashley Robinson, leaves Jackson State, Sanders gets a 1-year extension. If JSU leaves the SWAC, he gets 2 years added to his deal. Forbes, a base of $319,000. Willie Simmons, $300,000. Texas Southern coach, $300,000. Dooley, $275,000, $250,000. Oh, I'm sorry, but Simmons made $275,000 the year before him. Excuse me, I got that wrong. I'll back up again. Dooley, $250,000, but Simmons $275,000 the year before him, and Odoms at $210,000. Now, we know certain situations, some schools have more than others, but in a general sense, nobody's university streets are paved with gold in the conference. Well, maybe one school. Fred McNair, what is his salary? Did he get a boost up from winning back-to-back championships? I wonder what his contract. Where's that? Where's the information for that? I'm thinking. Guess I'm thinking out loud. How much? But those are some of the incentives for Coach Sanders. Oh, let's see. Carlos or Coach Eddie Robinson? Poor mouth. I'll take that, listener. What other choice do I have? Also, he says you want to have your fans' expectations lower than expected. Then when you exceed, that's all the better. Interesting. This has been a interesting topic, and also you can say this: it hasn't been a dull week in the conference since the decision was made to play football and other fall sports in the spring. Have you ever seen a year like this? And that's before you get to athletic competition starting up. But how do you feel about all of this? The conversation will continue after the show. I had some people talking about still Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time. Where's LeBron place after another championship? I must admit, though, LeBron has really done a lot of things to help the black community. And, of course, while I'm thinking about your civic duty, you've seen the lines. A lot of early voting is going on, even in the state of Louisiana now. Yesterday to October the 27th, exercise your constitutional right. Please go out and vote. Please do. That'll be a start if we get the outcome that we desire. That'll be a start in the right direction, I would think. COVID-19, 2020, as this year gets closer to being over with, will there be all sports played in the conference in the spring? That is a big question. I get asked that all the time. Right now, I feel 50-50. I felt the odds were a little better 2 or 3 weeks ago, but now you're seeing the cases where they're spiking all over again. But if it doesn't happen, that's all right. Then you look ahead to the fall, and hopefully that'll be a fall of 2021. That'll be a better situation. We talked some NFL. Dr. Prince, your team, I believe they're doing excellent. They're in the top 5. Some may say right outside of the top 5, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, kudos to them so far. They are doing an outstanding job.
Still got ball to play. Still got ball to play.
Yeah, and that's why I reference it so far. You know, the race is won, not by the swiftest, but the one who endures. But they're also an excellent start. I'd rather be 5-0, 4-0 than 0-4.
This is true. This is true.
You see on the collegiate level, games being affected by COVID-19. You see it every week. So I guess we shouldn't be amazed at that. Shouldn't be amazed by that. Want to thank guests for today, Coach Carlos Funches, Rod Walker, and Coach Van Pettaway. Producer of the show, Dr. Michael Prince. For those of you who sent in comments, questions, appreciate you as well. My time is up on today's show. But of course, you can hear the show every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Quickly, Dr. Prince, who will visit the Michael Prince Show, the Sunday version?
Well, I got a very special guest that I've been working on, and I'm going to see if I can still get them. But he was a longtime voice for the Texas A&M Aggies. Personal friend of mine. Yes, sir. And we're going to try to get him lined up. Mr. Dave South.
Okay. Texas A&M. That'll be outstanding. Well, until next time, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Continue to be safe and be vigilant. And until next Saturday at 10 a.m., enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, peace and God bless.